Hi, this is Lauren Winkler, demonstrating the web mapping application I developed for Project 2 of UW-Madison's Capstone and GIS development course. For this project, I developed an interactive visitor map of the J.N. Ding-Darling National Wildlife Refuge in Sanibel, Florida. The refuge is the largest undeveloped mangrove ecosystem in the United States. It is known as America's birding hotspot, famous for its rookery islands filled with roseate spoonbills, pelicans, herons, egrets, ibises, and more. It is also home to other iconic Florida wildlife, including the Florida manatee, bottlenose dolphin, and American alligator. What makes Ding-Darling so special is how easy it is to see such a vast diversity of unique and endangered species. The interactive visitor map I developed is focused around the themes of general tourism and ecotourism and features a mobile-friendly layout that is compatible with any desktop or mobile device. The site was developed in Leaflet using Carto as the spatial database, and Postgres and PostGIS from the Carto SQL API query the database. It is based on boilerplate HTML and Bootstrap with user interface elements from jQuery and various Leaflet plugins. As part of the U.S. National Wildlife Refuge system, GIS data for Ding-Darling is well maintained and publicly available. With the exception of the user-submitted wildlife observations, all data comes from feature services maintained by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The map includes layers for the refuge boundary, roads, trails, trail features such as benches and signs, parking lots, points of interest, birding hotspots from eBird, but also maintained by the Fish and Wildlife Service, and user-submitted wildlife observations. The site is intended for two types of users. First are general tourists who are interested in seeing park features and points of interest, locating specific points of interest based on their favorite activities, such as driving, hiking, fishing and boating, beach going, etc. The other type of user is an ecotourist who is interested in knowing where the top birding hotspots are and seeing and submitting their own wildlife observations. When you first arrive at the site, the system detects whether or not you are in the refuge. If you are, your current location will be marked with a blue arrow. If not, you will see a pop-up alert. Since I am not currently in the refuge, I can use Chrome to simulate a location within the refuge, which is why I get the blue arrow and no alert. The initial view of the map shows the Ding-Darling National Wildlife Refuge and Sanibel Island. Zooming and panning constraints keep users from straying too far away. Notice you can't zoom out, you can't get too far away from the refuge. You can toggle between a street map and an imagery-based map. The refuge boundary, roads, trails, and parking lots are always visible, since for the purpose of this map, there's really no reason to not see them. But you can turn points of interest, trail features, eBird hotspots, and wildlife observations on and off. So for example, if you turn on the trail features, these little dots here. If you turn on the eBird hotspots, these are all birding hotspots throughout the refuge and surrounding area. You can click any feature to see its name and other relevant attributes, such as for trails, you can see the trail length and surface type. You can click a point of interest and see its name. You can click a birding hotspot and see its name. You can click a wildlife observation, see what kind of wildlife it was. You can click on trail features and see signs, the road and the length, parking lots. The main functionality of the map is controlled via the collapsible sidebar. The Home tab shows some introductory information about the refuge, where there are links to a video of the refuge by clicking America's Birding Hotspot. It'll go to YouTube video. Or you can click on wildlife to get a list of the commonly seen wildlife in the refuge, or you can click on the logo to go to the refuge homepage. The next tab is the Filter tab, which allows you to filter points of interest by category. By default, all points of interest are shown. Let's turn off some of the other things to make it easier to see. So by default, all points of interest are shown, but to filter the points of interest, simply choose any option from the dropdown. So if you want to see just things that are related to hiking, these are trailheads, observation decks, signs, bathrooms. If you want to see just beaches, you can click any of them to see information about the beach. If you want to see features that are within the bounds of the refuge, these guys are within this new tract that the wildlife purchased, the Bailey Tract. And because I am within the refuge, I can get information about features within a half mile of my current location. If I were to move my location to somewhere else, in this case, I can only simulate it, but if I were to move my location, the features within a half mile would dynamically update. It's resetting since my geolocation timed out. To go back to display all of the features, simply go back to all points of interest. The next tab, the Submit tab, allows you to submit wildlife observations by choosing from a list of commonly seen species in the refuge. If you are in or near the refuge, you can submit an observation at your current location or at a location you click on the map. If you are not in the refuge, you cannot submit an observation at your current location. So if you have an observation, you'll have to click a point on the map. This is useful for someone who saw a particular species earlier but forgot to report it while they were in the refuge. Now they're home, they remembered it, they want to show where it is for other people. To submit an observation at your current location, click Use Current Location. Notice that the latitude and longitude are populated. Then you can select the species family and the species. Within a few seconds, your observation will be displayed on the map. It's easier to see when you click a point, so let's do that. To submit a wildlife observation at a different location, click a point, then click this point icon, and then click a point on the map. Again, it will populate coordinates, but it will be the coordinates from the point you clicked, not your current location. This time, choose a species. Let's put an iguana at the edge of the water. Click Submit, and if you click on it, there's the green iguana. To ensure that the locations are valid, the latitude and longitude cannot be edited. The coordinates are limited to the area in and around the refuge to prevent typos and misspellings of species names. The species can only be selected from a dropdown. To keep the list from being enormous, you have to select the species family first and then the species. So if you choose family, it'll auto-populate the species with species in that family. The Legend tab shows symbology for the main layers of the site, specifically the points of interest, eBird hotspots, and wildlife observations. And these points of interest symbols are the official symbols from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So if I go back to Chrome settings and I go to sensors and I disable my location. So instead, now I'm going to do, let's see. Now I get a message that I'm outside the refuge. At this point, notice that current location is disabled. I can still submit an observation, but I have to click a point on the map. So let's put these species over here. Let's put a dolphin. I can still add the dolphin, but I just can't add it at my current location. Also notice that the within a half mile of my location option is missing. The map is responsive to desktop, tablet, and phone screen widths. To maximize available screen real estate, the interface adjusts based on the screen width. So again, using the Chrome developer tools, I can simulate various screen sizes. So on tablet screen widths, do a landscape. On tablet screen widths, the values may be abbreviated if need be. On phone screen widths, the sidebar collapses by default. Every time the user needs to interact with the map, the sidebar reopens. So for example, if I filter and then say, show me just things that have to do with fishing and boating, it'll collapse to show those features. You can still click everything, turn layers on and off. Also unique to the mobile display, the map extent changes so that it can fit the entire refuge within the limited real estate of a phone screen. So that is the application. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.